There she is.
Ryan Stone, another
It is just,
Oh my god.
If you're a young man, you need to figure out what you're trying to do with your life, you need to subscribe to this goddamn channel.
What the fuck?
Megan Fox with a dick, or Hulk Hogan with a pussy.
Mel time. It's Mel time.
Why are you doing this to me? Why are you doing this to me?
You see that Waffle House there? There's murderers in there.
You have to conclude that Trump betrayed us.
socially retarded fact.
Seething.
Don't work with retards.
He's a halfway decent looking guy, a nice smile, can be a gentleman, snarky as even in person, yet he blocks me and talks shit about. Somebody find out their fucking real names for me.
'79T 2458 Learning Corp Little Red Riding Hood, take one.
40 years of my life is in the wire that's gone. Does that make sense?
where they say there are Indian people pooping on our beach.
It's a spool of wire. 40 years of my life is in the wire that's gone.
How do you not love these guys, man? Hey, how do you not love this stuff? What a great day for a job in the fucking Manosphere. 40 years. That spool of wire is gone. Socially retarded. Hey, it's gonna be a fun red morning. Dude, it's done. It's done. It's done. It's done. It's done. What's done, do you ask? Oh, the newest book. What? There's another one? There's going to be many this year. We have, I mean, obviously you've seen The Dog Walker. If you guys haven't, it really is a good book. Like I said, it's a fun read. It's contemporary fiction. They call it slice of life. The idea is it's not some epic adventure or battle between good and evil or science fiction. Generally speaking, it's kind of set in like the 2010s-ish, but it's meant to be more of a character study. A little bit of a satire of the modern world. It's got a little bit of romance in there, but it's showing that like girls can't take all of that. Guys can actually have fun reading literotica too. Granted, the literotica is mostly about a stripper smudging a glass coffee table with like tit fingerprints, so it does what it does. Anyways, I didn't realize this, but so that book came out Valentine's Day. It's the gift for the guy that wants more. Yeah, slice of life anime. I actually wouldn't be surprised. It would be probably similar to slice of life anime, but only because anime is not a genre, it's an art style. So the slice of life stuff, still slice of life stuff. It's got a little bit of like extraordinary stuff, and I always laugh because like the stuff in there that's ridiculous is usually the stuff that was taken from things that I remember in my life, a premise of things that actually happened. Like case in point, in chapter 2, there is a part where the guy is at a party and somebody gets hit across the head with a chainsaw bar, cracks his skull open, needs to be driven to the hospital. That was actually inspired by a real event that happened in my life. That was my grad party. The two 16-year-olds finger blasting each other on the lawn. Again, real life scenario. My childhood parties were, and by childhood I mean like I was 17, but they were pretty inspirational. I'm like, dude, this is so fantastical. We've got to make it a story. Got to make it a story. But put that aside. If you haven't read it yet, by the way, do it. It's like, dude, $10 for a Kindle, 20 for a paperback, 30 for a hardcover if you want. It's like audiobooks coming out soon too. It's a fun read. And here's the thing. Delicious Tacos, great author. I enjoy his stuff immensely. And now for some good news. Like the last book of fiction that I read was fucking Fight Club. In like 2000 or something like that. It was like I was barely in the military and I tried, but for the next like 20 years nothing was any good. Nothing. And then I read Delicious Tacos and I was like, dude, this is actually fiction I enjoy. And so he kind of inspired me to get into it. And then that Dog Walker kind of came out of that. Well, it's like a rising tide lifts all boats. And if you guys are considering writing, I would say do. More guys writing contemporary fiction. You've got Bad Billy Pratt. You've got Delicious Tacos. You got me. You got, what's his name? Dan Bell or no, Baltazak? Anyways, his book's Nutcranker. That one's a little not my style, but it's still like a really well done book. Just not for me. And then as more of these things go up, more guys start to read them more. Because, like, I didn't know I would like this kind of stuff until it showed up, until it was shown to me. It's like Steve Jobs says, people don't know what they like until you show them. So there, I showed you. Now, put that aside. That was February 15th that one went to press. And then I was like, you know what? In the same sense that Delicious Tacos got me really enjoying contemporary fiction for men, Devin Erickson wrote Theft of Fire. I hadn't read sci-fi in forever either. It's just, I didn't like it. I love science fiction like as a genre for movies, but the books just were not doing it for me. I've basically read Dune 3 times, and that's like the latest of science fiction I've read. But then he came out with Theft of Fire, and oh my god. So and he does this thing that they do. I talk about it on Ryan all the time in the 80s, and that they mash up genres. They synthesize into something new. You know how Predator is like a war movie, action movie, mixed with a horror film. But instead of like a bunch of teenagers running away from the serial killer, it's an alien beast from another planet that's hunting a bunch of like hardcore special forces for sport. Or Die Hard is the towering inferno mixed with a guy trying to get back with his ex-wife. One of those kind of like redemption stories. Or how, I could use examples. Alien is a horror movie mixed with like space truckers. Aliens, action military movie mixed with a horror movie. Mixed with the story of a woman who has to redeem herself after losing her ability to have kids. It's like, there's so many of these things. And he did it too. He did a heist movie mixed with libertarian fan fiction, mixed with a character study on leaving a legacy. And I was like, it's just great. Like, I enjoyed it. It's one of those ones, and this has always been my goal, and he did it well, was when you read a book and you finish the chapter, and then you look and you're like, I got to go to bed in half an hour. But you're like, I would rather read the new, like the not wanting to put it down feeling, where you're making decisions to put off things you should be doing because you want to read more. And I think that's a great thing. And I get it. We are in a land of dopamine fixes and infinite options. I can sit here 24/7, 365 for the rest of my life. You know what, that light, I don't know if I quite like how that one's placed. We're gonna do some adjustment here. 365. I can watch shorts. I can watch Instagram reels. I can watch TikToks. I can watch long form YouTube content. I can watch Netflix, Amazon Prime. I can't even think of all the other streaming services. But the point is, there's like infinite variation. Of course, a lot of it is just slop. It's there not to entertain you, not to, get the brain moving. It's there to give you the impression it's doing it. It's kind of similar to what I would refer to as like a Jordan Peterson lecture. And some people are not going to like this take. But here's the problem with most slop, and this is what you have to compete against. Jordan Peterson will give an amazing hour-long lecture about something, and it is brilliant. And you will watch it, and you feel smart, and you're like, dude, I feel like so illuminated. This is something I didn't know, and I need to know it. And then you'll talk to somebody like, oh, dude, Jordan Peterson had this great lecture, and they're like, yeah, what was in it? And you're like, you realize, like, I can't articulate a single fucking thing I just watched for like an hour, but it was so smart. So what the hell went wrong? It's because you weren't taught. You weren't trained. You were given the impression of learning. It's the McDonald's fast food of learning. They use fancy words. They use, wear a suit, all the symbols. It's like those stupid masculinity Christian podcasts where they sit there holding a cigar for 40 minutes while they talk about shit. And it's like, dude, couldn't afford the ashtray with your prop? It's like, come on. Putting a gun in the background of your shot. It actually reminds me of Coach Red Pill, man. He used to do that all the time. He would film his goofy little, I've read Rollo Tomasi videos, and he would be in his wood shop. His immaculately cleaned wood shop, by the way, which always got me. That's like owning a truck that's clean. It's like, dude, you got to have some dirt on that truck. You got to tell me that it's a working truck. You can't just say it's for show. And then he would always have like a pistol in between you and the camera, just sitting there. His way of saying, I'm a dangerous man, don't fuck with me. And everybody's like, wow, his takes are so great. He's such a dangerous man. I was just like, fucking hell. I don't like this theater. I don't like this theater at all. Do the other thing around. I don't know the things. I don't like to experience them. Ask me how I know. Exactly. Here, I'm going to put this live chat a little more central. I don't want to miss. Some of you guys have some really hot takes. And I would hate for them to be missed in the void of weird schizoid takes that need to get banned. There we go. Anyways, where were we? Let's do a little slow. Why do I have to get... Oh, that's why. It's the wrong way. Anyways, where did I leave off? Oh, yeah. We're talking about stories. So all of a sudden, wow, sci-fi can be good. And it's not... Because most sci-fi, you read it now, and it's like feminist fan fiction. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. 5 to 10 hours. $10, $20 a time. I'm like, that's a wonderful deal. Video games are crap right now. Do you know that? And I actually figured out why. There's actually a science to it. It's called ludology. It's the study of games. It's a science. There's a scientific rigor around games. Yes. And it turns out the reason why you don't like a lot of new stuff, I mean, because one, it's done poorly. Yeah, when you watch feminist fan fiction on movies, it's ridiculous, but that's because the plots are crap, the scripts are crap, it's filmed like crap, the special effects are overdone. Everything's just wrong and unprofessional. You can tell me you don't like watching a strong, independent woman beating up 200-pound Russian men, but then you'll go and watch Long Kiss Goodnight, and you're like, this is the greatest movie of a generation. Yeah, a single mom with amnesia all of a sudden becomes a master assassin and starts killing Russians. But it was cool. You know why? Because it was done well. Games, similar thing. Now that the arcade is dead, we have missed that incentive structure that used to be great. It was like a difficulty curve. There's a scientific term for it. I don't really care. But the point of it is, in arcades, there is a business case to be made. You need to make a game difficult enough that it eats your quarters. Like for quarter token, whatever, I'm just saying quarter. You put a quarter in, and they want to minimize the amount of time that you spend on that quarter playing the game. The less you spend, the better. Ideally, they'd love it if you could just punch them in one after another, but nobody's going to do that. Now, the problem is then, if you make it so difficult, you get past a certain point and people just quit because they're like, whatever, what's the point? It's just punishing me. There's no learning curve. There's no accomplishing. There's no getting over objectives, whatever. So they had a mix between making it so difficult that it would eat up your paycheck, but not so difficult that you would quit and go do something else. And they would like rigorously study how to get right in that butter zone. And that's why you kind of notice when everybody's like, games aren't better, you're just older. It's like, no, they really did. They lost that incentive structure. And now the incentive structure is to waste as much of your fucking time as possible. And this is going to tie into what I'm talking about with the books. They're there to waste your time. Cutscenes. Unskippable cutscenes are only there to waste your time. Red Dead Redemption 2. My girl, she was so excited because, like, when we first started dating, it was great. My birthday is somewhere around Christmas time. And if you guys don't remember, I think it was like October when Modern Warfare would come out, or whatever the newest iteration of it was. My girl loved it. She's like, I don't have to think about your birthday. I just got to go get the new Call of Duty game and I'm good. And then just sit there and watch you play it for 20 hours. I was like, yeah, it's good times. And then one year it just wasn't there. Red Dead Redemption then came in and she's like, oh, perfect. Cowboys. A cowboy Call of Duty. That's even better. And then Red Dead 2 came out and she got that from me and she was so excited and it didn't hit right. And I realized it right from the start. If you ever played it, like you play the story mode, and I timed this, the first 43 minutes was a cutscene. And the only interaction you have with it is it says press A to speed up the cutscene. And it doesn't skip the cutscene. It doesn't fast forward the cutscene. It just makes it play like 10% faster or something like that. And I just realized I'm sitting here holding down a button, staring at a movie that's not very good. I haven't touched it since. I was like, nah, it's done. I'm done. Done. because they wanted to waste your time. The idea is they make you sit there. And it makes sense too, from their perspective. If you're on Steam or any of the app stores that sell games, what's their return policy? It's something like if you played it for more than 2 hours, you can't return it. So they draw out that first 2 hours because they just know you're going to hate this game. You're probably not going to like this game. It's your fault, of course, because you're a misogynist, but yeah. They draw it out. Every game does that. They just draw it out. It's fucking annoying. Even the new Tekken. Dude, I was so psyched. I got the Tekken for pennies intro stuff come up. Tekken 8 comes out, piece of shit. I'm like, you son of a bitch. Somebody actually did a point to notice that the way they did combos now, there's like 20-second combos, 60-second matches, 20-second combos. What does that mean? In a match, you're spending 2/3 of the match sitting there watching somebody juggle you around. That's not fun. It's not entertaining. Yeah, but it's so technically, well, like, who cares? This is a game. This is not who can play DDR better. Well, even DDR would be fun at least. At least there's a physical challenge to it. Yeah, the old school Gothic and Gothic 2 had no unskippable cutscenes and truly a small open world which you can skip to. Yeah. Tekken stinks, play Injustice instead. It's not about finding alternatives. It's the fact that the entire entertainment industry is just bad. The incentives are wrong. The outputs are wrong. A lot of the people in the positions to make decisions and to implement things are wrong. The entire thing is wrong. I don't know why we have not hit an ET 1982 Atari crash right now. We are so due for it. But debt and money are cheap as hell right now. And people are going to keep throwing money into that pit because there's nothing else to invest in. Just that hope that if you market enough and ride that IP hard enough, you're going to get Grand Theft Auto 3, $1 billion off a $100 million game, and everybody's chasing that lottery. It's no, like, how can you blame Zoomers for just gambling with Bitcoin and memes coins and shit like that? Because that's exactly what the investor class is doing in the big boy world. It's like no different. Yeah, well, Star Wars is popular enough. We can put $200 million of marketing into this $10 million game to make $1 billion. And then it loses money. They're like, oh, well, as long as one of them wins. And so yeah, they'll make 99 crappy games on the off chance that one of them makes it. And one of them will make it. And then it pays everything back. And you're like, it's just a slop generation. And of course you can't take risks with that. Oh, it's an investment. You don't want risk. Downsides of risk, horrible. You want to get rid of it. There's actually a term for that too. Where, what did they call it? Cultural laundering. I think that was what it was. It was actually very clever. When I first heard it, I was like, dude, that's interesting. What that is in the same way that you launder money, take illegal money, you hide the trail from where it came from, and now it becomes legal money, you take an IP or a game or a movie or a book or whatever, and you use the elements, like they're done properly. But unfortunately, it strips it of all of its entertainment, like the thing that made it good. I always say it's like wearing Star Wars as a skin suit, or another analogy I use is a 9-year-old girl wearing her mom's wedding dress. Like, yeah, all the parts are right, but the whole thing is just wrong. Enshittification, that's another term that goes out for it. I mean, but I think the enshittification is a different concept. Enshittification is more making things cheaper, easier, and more accessible. And that's kind of tying into the difficulty curve so arcades, you want to make things difficult. And when you have things that are difficult, people have fun because there's a sense of accomplishment. Yes, it's a restricted, fake sense of accomplishment, but it's still a sense of accomplishment. The brain doesn't know the difference. But when they're sitting there trying to waste your time, they need to make things as easy as possible. Because if they don't, you're going to leave and get frustrated because there's nothing to learn. That's enshittification. So, now that I've gotten through all of that, let's laugh at some retards.
We know that these videos really prey on vulnerable young men who have not had many experiences in dating.
One of the guys who ran the Red Pill channel sent me a message. I actually appreciate that you took it from an idea-based perspective instead of ever resorting to personal attack. Like, if this movement is actually going to be dangerous, do we need to understand it so that we can take it down? I knew going into it that this might be a hot mess. I'm not going to have those guys back on my channel again. Absolutely not.
I've talked to Ryan Stone once. I'm pretty sure the whole conversation I pushed him like pretty hard.
What was hard, Ariel?
The therapist will essentially give them SSRIs, which I think the sexual effects that SSRIs have on the body, right?
Some. Like, there's tons of like MAOs and like tricyclics that you're talking about, like the type of SSRIs that used to be given to pedophiles. We don't give those to men. We don't give those to men. We don't give those to men. But he's not as informed as like I think he would like to be. Yeah.
Fuck you. All right, so that ties into what I'm talking about today, which is Jake Long Softbone. Are you talking about your book? Yes, it's my podcast, it's my book, and it's goddamn good. It is. It is really good. And so this was laying all the groundwork for when I sat down to started it February 15th, day after Valentine's Day. I'm like, all right, I want to do a book. As far as genre goes, I really love cyberpunk. I have always been a fan of cyberpunk. I don't remember what the first time it was, but I know Shadowrun for the SNES. Awesome game. Trench coats, pistols, orcs, lasers, psychers, all that stuff. I was like, it's cool. And then Blade Runner. And I remember thinking it was boring, but I just enjoyed the vibe, man, the kino, the tone, the theme, just taking it in. That kind of like slower paced, existential, semi-philosophical, little bit of action, melodrama, like all of that stuff. Oh, I loved all of that stuff. And so I kind of got into that stuff. And then, do you remember when CD games were a thing? Do you guys remember CD games where it was kind of like interactive movies? Not like with the cutscenes, but interactive movies. There was this game and I loved it and nobody likes it and nobody remembers it. It was called Hell, a cyberpunk thriller. And I was like, dude, this game is awesome. It was blisteringly difficult, by the way. Kind of like Myst. It's kind of in that same genre. But the idea was you and your girlfriend were cops in Washington, D.C. And hell had come to Earth. But it was also cyberpunk. So it was like religious cyberpunk mystery crime solving. And it had an all-star cast. It had Grace Jones. Remember the Zulu bitch from Conan the Barbarian? Had Grace Jones, had Stephanie Seymour, what is she from? Was she Quinn Medicine Woman or something? Hold on a second here. What is she from? I know she's from a lot of stuff, but I always get her mixed up with some of the other chicks of the day, like Cindy Crawford and that. Oh, that's funny. They got, if you pull up her IMDb, it's got hella cyberpunk thriller as what she is known for. Law and Order, Criminal Intent, Guns N' Roses videos. Really? Was that where I knew her from? Was from like from November Rain from Guns N' Roses. Holy Jesus. Fuck, I didn't realize she wasn't that famous. All right, fair enough. And then Dennis Hopper. Dennis Hopper, I think, was playing like a demon or something. It was cool as shit. Jeffrey Holder. You may remember him from Aliens 3. Yeah, Syndicate. There's tons of them. Anyway, so you kind of like take it all in. I haven't actually done Cyberpunk 2077. I refuse to because I just know they're going to ruin my impression of Cyberpunk. But the part I loved about it was science fiction always is about the stories of today wrapped up in the gift wrapping of tomorrow. Because it's hard to talk about stuff today. You can't write about a lot of stuff. You know, cancel culture is coming for you here. They always had some level of social stigma against talking about certain things. And so science fiction was a way of projecting that into the future. It gave you that level of separation that you were able to talk about taboo subjects. You were able to discuss them. You were able to think about them. You were able to read them. And it bypassed people's moral, like you would put up a wall. Like if you were talking about Troons 5 years ago, negatively, oh dude, people would just like shut right down. So you have to put it in the future. High tech, low life. And that's another one of the big themes. That's my favorite of the themes for Cyberpunk. High tech, low life. As technology gets better, our quality of life gets worse. Can you not tell me that is the most accurate assessment of like the Unabomber was right kind of stuff in there, right? I love that stuff. The idea of companies becoming their own nation states. Capitals become extremely concentrated to the point that companies have more power than nations. Tell me that's not accurate. You got the idea of technology is changing us in the same way that we are changing technology. What does it do now? What happens when you start getting implants? It's got like Ship of Theseus vibes to it, right? So there's like there's like more than this. I'm just kind of scratching the surface, and there's no official canon of it must have these things to be cyberpunk. And this ties into what I'm talking about here. And I love it. It's more interesting to me than most like hard science fiction or soft sci-fi, like science fiction where it's magic, space operas, all that stuff's fine. It's just the cyberpunk stuff is just awesome. Of course, and here was why I'm getting to all this stuff. When you try reading or watching or playing modern interpretations of these like genres, fantasy, fiction, science fiction, cyberpunk, whatever, you always end up with, the term is called a pastiche. A pastiche is like a remember what I was saying before, wearing it like a skin suit, the cultural laundering, same thing. I was reading, I'm like, what is out there right now? I'm like, I should probably start getting into some of the new stuff, and it's all shitty. You know what it is? It's a bunch of people who grew up with all those same influences I did, and they're like, I'm going to make that. They're not making their own thing. They're not using it as a vessel to tell their own story. They're like, I want to make Shadowrun. And the problem is you can't make Shadowrun better than Shadowrun made Shadowrun. So what you do is you end up making a photocopy of a photocopy. It's called deep frying. You get this deep fried pastiche, and it's just garbage because they're using all the right parts. Yeah, let's get a guy in a trench coat. Let's give him a laser pistol. Let's add androids and make it rain and put them in a densely populated city. And there's evil company on top. Like, it's got all the pieces there. But again, it's a 9-year-old in her mom's wedding dress. All the pieces are there. It's just something is wrong. Hey, what's up, Paris? Yeah, I like to think of sci-fi as it's a shit show. Let's play it in the future and see if things don't change. Absolutely. But you can't do that as a pastiche. If you're just trying to make, hey, do you remember this in nostalgia? It can work. Kung Fury is probably, there's two examples. There's Kung Fury, which if you haven't seen, it's on YouTube. It's a pretty fun movie. It was like a Kickstarter movie. There's a sequel coming out with Michael Fassbender, which I'm like, what? But whatever. It looks good. And what the hell was the other one called? I got the tune in my head. It's Turbo Kid? Turbo Kid. Yeah, Turbo Kid. So there's examples where you can make a pastiche and make it work. In this case, Turbo Kid did it in, like, they took all of the nostalgia from all of the 1980s and they threw it together in a giant pot. And they added some heart to it. But it's the exception. It's the exception that proves the rule. Same thing as Turbo Kid, as Kung Fury. They literally took every trope from, they took Miami Vice, they mixed it with, Delta Force, with Predator, with any robot film, all of that stuff. They gave the guy a dinosaur cop assistant, just like that Whoopi Goldberg film. But their goal with this was just like maximum verisimilitude. Same as my video I had on Orion 2 about Dead Leaves. It's just meant to be like a collage of just overload on your senses, and it works. But most people are trying to make things. So when you read, there was one sci-fi book. It did really well too, at least for a bit. It was No Dogs in Philly. The guy called it Cyberpunk Cosmic Horror. And it looked to me like somebody read Lovecraft and played Shadowrun and then made a book as if Lovecraft made Shadowrun. And it wasn't very good. So I'm like, the last thing I want to do to you guys is make something that wastes your time. I don't want to. I want the arcade experience. I want something that's difficult enough, and for books, difficulty means something different than games, but I get that. Difficult enough that you want to keep plunking quarters into it, but not so difficult that it frustrates you to go away. I don't want to waste your time. I want to make it as long as it needs to be, no longer than that. I don't want to stretch out the runtime or anything like that. And I was just like, I was frustrated. There's nobody else doing it. And it's not that it's too difficult. We don't know how. It's like, we know how. Half of the video on my own Ryan channels are guys telling amazing stories, and they have no experience in the movie industry. This is their one movie they made, and it was a banger. Yeah, nobody watched my retrospective on Six String Samurai, but it was a good fucking movie. Really good. And the guys, this is the only thing they ever did. Good for them. Great, you're operating on solid pulp time. Yeah. Yeah, Dead Leaves was great. Absolute chaos, but awesome. It was absolute chaos. But it had a structure and a feeling to it. But it was the idea that, look, this world is going to have a bunch of this story is going to have a bunch of stuff in it. And it's going to make no sense. But where normally a story would not make any sense, and it confuses you and it just turns you off it, again, makes it too difficult. They gave you the idea of the chaos that makes no sense as part of the world, and you just accept it. And so you accept it. So when they throw something weird at you, you're like, oh, okay. Guy's got a TV for a head. Sure, whatever. The girl just had a baby. The baby was born with a Glock, and they just shot somebody else. Sure. And you just go with it. And you're like, oh, that's kind of neat. So yeah, not waste your time. And so then I was like, well, I'm also the red pill guy, or that hipster guru. So what can we do here? Because I don't want to just do a cyberpunk book that's like, it's like Blade Runner, because that's dumb too. Blade Runner is Blade Runner. I'm not Blade Runner. And it started with two ideas. The first one was, take some of the stuff that you really couldn't talk about right now and just roll with it. And what do you got right now? You got the transgender nonsense. You got the COVID vaccine. You've got the war in Ukraine. And those are just the three examples I came up with. And I'm like, dude, this is how are people not doing this? This is just low-hanging fruit, just craziness. Drone warfare. I'm like, neat. And then again, like I said, I'm a red pill guy. So, hey, what's some human interaction stuff that doesn't get talked about? I was like, well, how about the different ways people want to create families? You know? Really? Yeah. I mean, you got half of people, you hear all the red pill things, right? Half of marriages end in divorce, 70% initiated by women. Oh, okay. A divorce. You got a divorced guy. How about single moms? Okay, a single mom. Sounds good. What about those guys that want their harems of 9s and 10s? Dude, a harem sounds good. What about a widow or it's just technically a single guy? I'm like, yeah, I like all this. And so there, I remember I've talked about it before on other things where you have layers, right? So I'm like, bam, I've got the inkling of an idea. I've got 3 completely absurd modern things, and I've got 3 different facets of humanity. Let's put them together and make it into Cyberpunk. So I'm like, that sounds good. And that was kind of what the start was. It started writing it on February 15th. I'm actually surprised. So what is it now? It's, I mean, technically it was finished a month ago, but so yeah, 3 months. And I was like, dude, if I can finish a book in 3 months and the editor and all the work and that stuff can get done in a month, that's 4 months. If you really wanted to crack down and it does really well, 3 of them a year, why not make it like a series? That would be cool. So it's set up for like that. But then I was thinking, I was just talking before about cultural people dismiss AI as slop, but it will allow individuals to produce amazing stuff with good ideas. Yeah, it's really in how it's used, but we'll get to that later. Yeah, no cultural laundering. So what does that mean? If there's a trope that I know, does it have a reason? Because I've learned this much about whether you're making a video, whether you're making a non-fiction video, a non-fiction book, a fiction book, an essay on Substack, whatever. You're telling stories. You're always telling a story. Even when you're not telling a story, it is a story. And so tell it properly. And a story is a series of decisions you have to make to impart information to another person. It can be hidden information. It can be overt. There's all those little decisions you have to make. So it's like, first off, okay, so what kind of story do you want to tell? And I always default to Kurt Vonnegut. Remember his thing where it's like, there's only 6 stories. He had it on, he was giving a lecture to something like that. 6 stories, that's all there is. And he called one Cinderella. But it was the idea of the time, the length of the story, and then positive or negative outcomes for the heroes. And you had like Cinderella was low, then high, then low, then high. Some of the Russian stuff is just normal, then low, then back to normal. And there was just like 6 general curves. So I'm like, oh, that's cool. What did I end up going with? I ended up going with the Cinderella one because I liked it. You do whatever. Dog Walker was more of, I can't remember what he named it, but it was like slice of life, where it was kind of more flat with an arc at the end, which was pretty neat. Free Gender, $5 super chat. Have you read the second book to Wisdom of Psychopaths, The Good Psychopath Guide to Success? I have not. To be fair, I've found out that like David Clare has a sequel to Practical Female Psychology too. And Glover has his sequel to No More Mr. Nice Guy. I have not read any of the sequels. I'm actually a little worried about it. I don't want to get Red Dead Redemption 2. That's my concern. Anyways, since you were such a prick with the $5 super chat, you had this coming.
We know that these videos really prey on vulnerable young men who have not had many experiences in dating.
That's not the right one. It's this one.
So the memes, they're very good. This is really, they've taken it.
True Alpha.
Named Ryan Stone.
This says, ask Murphy about the article he wrote, cuckolding his wife. Clear up the cuck article. Clear up the cuck article.
Why are you doing this to me? Why are you doing this to me? Why are you doing this to me?
If I wasn't prepared to literally impoverish his entire bloodline,
I am now concerned for my career.
And I still recommend
Clear up the cuck article.
You know what? Fuck you for bringing this up. Yeah. Fuck you. Heartfelt.
I'm not going to have those guys back on my channel again. Absolutely not.
Just use a little bit of fucking common sense.
It is just,
That's great. That's you should.
Fuck you.
Sorry, apologies.
Just keep going, dude. One foot in front of the other. Before you know it, this will all be in the rearview mirror. Fuck you.
Never tire of that goofy bastard. All right, where was I going with this? Oh, yeah. So, like, I got these things. So I just sit down and I start planning. And I find that writing is an iterative process. Writing is rewriting. I get it. You will, like, for my nonfiction stuff, I would write it. And then I'm like, this makes no sense. And so I'd rewrite it. And then I'd look at it. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. This here and this here. And I'd start picking out themes and ideas and a narrative structure. And then I would rewrite it a third time. I always thought that meant I couldn't write. Turns out that's kind of the way you're supposed to do it. So I was like, oh, that's neat. It's not the way, but it's a way. With fiction, it's a bit different. I kind of have to have an outline because I have to make decisions. Like, what do I want to tell? Who do I want to be the main character? What's the perspective? And there's like, they got these goofy terms. Free Gender, $6.69 super chat. I am a gaslight laugh. I'm the guy who asked you about all the sequels because I want your review first. Oh, that's you on that. Yeah, that's fair. Oh, you're gaslighting me. I get it. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I'm kind of worried about them because I kind of know they'll be more of like cash grab. Like, if you're a fan of this, you'll love this. It's not so much learning, not so much sidebar stuff, but hey, you know, who knows? As time permits, why not, right? Anyways, back to this. Fucking guy. So you kind of start with an outline. So the different perspectives you can tell a story in, and it's not an exhaustive list. There's first person, omnipotent, non-omnipotent. What's the third one? Unreliable narrator, second person, and third person. The first person is like I and me. Dogwalker was first person. Second person, I've never really seen examples, but apparently they exist. It's like he, him, her. It's almost like you're talking about somebody else in the room. And then third person is like they were doing this. So you're talking as if you're a narrator talking about other things. And then there's an omnipotent narrator and a non-omnipotent narrator and an unreliable narrator. 3 different types, I think. You know what? I'm just going to caveat this whole thing here is that take what I say with a grain of salt because there's most likely somebody smarter than me who's like, actually, you forgot about this. Like, fair. Omnipotent means the narrator knows everything that's going on. And so they can understand the feelings of the person, they understand the motivations, and they can explain it. A lot of female fiction, literotica, Colleen Hoover stuff, that's third person omnipotent. And you'll know why you hate it because they do all the work for you. Remember when I was talking about the difficulty curve? This is what I mean about that. They wanted to waste as much of your time. Colleen Hoover will explain everybody's motivation, what everybody is thinking, what everybody is doing. She knows everything, and she will tell you it all so you don't have to figure it out for yourself. It's technically lazy writing, but it sells like hotcakes, so who am I to say otherwise? Because it's like, I don't need to know that the character is angry. You'll just tell me they're angry, and you're going to tell me why they're angry. It's an amusement park, right? Yeah, a lot of guys hate that kind of fiction. Omniscient, not omnipotent. Actually, it's the wrong word. Fair. Omniscient. I know everything versus I can do anything, I think is the difference. But yeah, you're right. You're right. Free Gender, $5.20 super chat. Why do I think me using talk to text to write my book is cheating? Also, the book is real. Well, I get what you're saying. It's not cheating. There's no such thing as cheating. As long as you get something good finished, it's perfect. There's no such thing as cheating. Otherwise, it'd be like, if you're not writing with a quill and pen, what the fuck's the point? So, fuck off. The reason that writing talk to text is that we have a lot of verbal tics and a lot of cadence and a lot of like things other than the words themselves that convey meaning. When I'm talking to you, the way I discuss things changes how you interpret what I'm saying. And that meaning gets largely lost when you write it down. So writing and thinking and speaking are different things. And it's subtle. You might not notice for a small piece or a simple piece, but if you were to go for a full-length book, you're going to start to feel something is off. So yeah, it might be good for a first draft. It might be good to get your thoughts out, but at some point you're going to have to switch over to using your word brain. Yeah, the all-knowing female intuition fantasy. And I get that's why that's popular with women. Women love the idea that they have intuition and they know everything. Anyways, then there's the other one. And this is the one that I kind of like, where the narrator doesn't know what's going on. He can just describe things. It's and the rule for that is show, don't tell. So if the character is angry, instead of saying he's angry and says, you just have like a he says, "You son of a fucking bitch." It's like, that's what an angry person would say. And then the difficulty in this for the reader is you have to intuit, oh, he is angry because this is what angry people say. I would argue it's a harder thing to implement. One, because you have to have a better knowledge of the human condition. You have to know if somebody is angry because they're hurt, if they're angry because they feel betrayed, if they're angry because they're technically attracted to somebody but they don't want to admit it, or they're angry for something completely different than what they're angry about and they're just projecting it onto this because they're not allowed to get angry at the other thing. Like, there's all these subtle, complicated reasons for doing this, and you have to express that with either an action or a word, and it's not easy. So if you are the kind of person who's lived a sheltered middle-class life and you view Reddit all day and that's your human interaction, you're probably going to have pretty shitty versions of this, so you're going to default to third-person omniscient. You're like, I don't know how to tell you that the guy is mad. What's he going to do? Say, wow, that's not progress. And like, doesn't do anybody any favors. So it's difficult. Now, I kind of like where you do a little mix in bits and bits, where sometimes it's just easier as a decision to say what the person's feeling. Because you're going to take a lot of time to articulate somebody's anger. When you can just say he's angry, then he says this, and you move things along. Like I said, stories are about decisions, right? So case in point, the first chapter, estrogen tyranny, the new face of communism. I don't know why. Somebody called, I don't know where I picked up the term, but I was like, dude, that's fucking fire. I love that. And so I made it there, and I'm like, the idea for a first chapter is to introduce the person to the world. B, to assure the person that they aren't wasting, that you're not going to waste their fucking time. I'm fully a fan, and I will never stop repeating this. The first sentence, the first paragraph, the first page, the first chapter. You have not sold your book yet until you get the person to buy in on actually reading the goddamn thing. And the first chapter, or in the first paragraph and the first page and the first sentence, if they don't show the person that you're not wasting their time and that they made a good decision, I think you failed as an author. Because, like, back in the day, you could. Because there was like 5 books, no electricity. Of course you could sell a book. Like, Tolkien could easily sell you a book that had the first 50 pages talking about a birthday party that had very little to do with Lord of the Rings. Because there was nothing to compete against. But now, somebody can watch Predator for the 50th time instead of reading Estrogen Tyranny. You know? I have to compete with... You know how hard it is to compete with Predator? It's fucking hard. So yeah. Jack off. Digitally naked, ocular implants, fought to maintain operability. They picked up interference from everywhere. You know, external tech from his phone, batteries going hotter. The idea is it's just like chaos. It's just... And he's just standing in an alleyway. But his phone's battery is burning up. His implants are having trouble adjusting to things. There's fucking static interference everywhere. And what's he doing? He's just asking the guy, hey, I'm looking for something. Can you help me? But he's panicking internally. He's like, show, don't tell. So you make the character of, and that was kind of the character I want to do. Start the guy as like a, when you think of like a beta male, I was like, I'm starting with that. An incel, a beta male, a guy who never gets laid, the guy who's been longhoused. I like the idea of that. In fact, I made the entire world of the wireless. There's the wireless and the analog. It's like catchy terms for the cyberpunk world and then like the normal world. And the world's very feminized. So I take all of that stuff that we talk about in the red pill stuff, right? Where female primary or gynocentric social order, female primary social order. That's the one. And I was like, let's just take that and let's add 20% to it. What would that look like? And so that's kind of where the first chapter is going from. And I don't mind spoiling the first chapter because that's going to be the preview anybody reads anyway. The idea that Xanax, Ambien, Ritalin, SSRIs in general, they're free. They're free. They're ubiquitous. There is juice drinks, sugar-free Ambien. You know, at the office, there's always like coffee there. There's that crappy coffee for you to drink. Well, now they got these SSRIs just on tap because everybody is miserable and everybody hates everything. And women love it, so they make it. But like, let's exaggerate it just a bit. Let's make guy chemicals illegal. Caffeine, nicotine, alcohol. Boom. Illegal. So what's he doing? He's in an alleyway trying to score some stims. You know, stims? And that was kind of one of those decisions I made where like, that's what Cyberpunk always had people getting hopped up on stims. And they'd always call it crank or some like weird drug. Like, remember Strange Days where they had those memory chips, or Johnny Mnemonic? Where it was like, oh, you could take somebody else's memory of getting murdered and you put that in your head and you get the dopamine high. Or Virtuosity with Denzel Washington and, I can't remember his name, the Australian guy. Anyways. Stims. But instead of making it some weird, abstract, hyper-futuristic thing, stims are caffeine. Stims are nicotine. Stims are Zyn. And I was like, Zyn sounds cyberpunk too. So that was my decision right there. Take this trope of cyberpunk. The idea of like junkies getting hopped up on stims. And I'm like, yeah, let's just make it caffeine. Because caffeine's illegal. Because women are running everything. And the only thing you can get is SSRIs. I'm like, that's fucking wonderful. Everything enforced by tongue or knuckle or pussy or boot. So there's a whole bunch of decisions I've made. And instead of like explaining it, I kind of just have it there. So for example, I don't actually mention that caffeine is illegal. He just goes to an illegal place to buy it. And you infer, oh, that must mean it's made illegal. Well, why would it be illegal? I don't tell you. They don't explain it. You don't need to know. And then when he gets home, he's talking to his wife. She's like, go get the sugar-free Ambien. Go get the Xanax. And you're like, wait a minute. Why does he have to go to a back alleyway to buy caffeine and a Zyn? Meanwhile, he goes home and he just pours Xanax into tea. What the fuck? And that's kind of, and so I have like this reason that it's happening, but I don't explain the reason. I just, if that was reasoned, how would things implement out? It's the show, don't tell. Right? And then I thought about it too. So you got these two different worlds. So let's exaggerate. If we have a feminine primary social order, and then we have some like back alley cyberpunk black market thing, naturally that would be the place where people wanted to have a more masculine polarity, right? So how does that look different? And I'm like, well, the feminine one, Let's double down on the Troon thing. Let's say parents don't get to pick your kid's gender. You can't pick it at all. And women are all about status, so they go along with whatever's popular, right? You're not allowed to pick your kid's gender until they're 5 years old. And then they get they're hormoned up, and then they take them off the hormones when they want to be a boy or girl or whatever. What would that do to somebody? For women, it would make them more masculine. They get butch hands, flatter chests, butch features, kind of. And I'm like, let's make them into like, you know, bull dyke feminists. I'm like, perfect. What would it do to the guys? It would make them effeminate. It would turn them into Redditors, soft hands. And then for some reason I was like, freckles. Let's just say it gets rid of all freckles. Your skin becomes like perfectly pristine, no wrinkles, no nothing. And then I remember this too, when you're on estrogen as a kid, supposedly, it gives you early onset osteoporosis. And so I'm like, you know, it'd be great. Like just a slur. Let's say you want to call somebody something. Like, we're not going to use the racial ones. I'm not going to drop N-bombs or call somebody, you know, fag or anything like that. But like, what would they use here in the future? And I'm like, well, all these trooned up kids have like osteoporosis. So like soft bones. Let's call them soft bone. Yes, that's right. Title of the book, soft bone. It's like basically dropping an N-bomb. And I was like, nice. So I got that. And I'm like, yeah, so how would these characters go around? Well, that's why this guy's so nervous right now. He just wants to buy some Zin, and he's talking to a normal man. But he looks at the man like he's a giant, like he's a insurmountable monster. What's the best book about why putting women in charge of stuff is just ruining everything? Oh, this is going to be it, man. This will be it. To see the AI girlfriend shit future scary. How impossible is it going to be to date an actual woman in the future? Dude, that's been in fiction forever. That's a cyberpunk thing in hell. I mean, Stephanie Seymour's character in Hell, a cyberpunk thriller, was a hologram. The Star Trek holodeck. How many people were using that to have their Geordie LaForge, I remember, had an episode where he had his like girlfriend in the fucking holo suite. There's that movie She or whatever, where the guy had like an AI girlfriend. That's been a thing as long as there's a thing. Mannequin, the movie in 1980 with Kim Cattrall, was about a mannequin that turns into a real girl. It's like, that's always been something there. Her, thank you. Where's it going with this? Oh yeah, so there's that. And so I wanted some like cool cyberpunk shit too, right? So, but I want it high tech, low life. So what's the low life part of it? Well, let's say the people that don't buy into all this stuff, what do? They just born and do their thing. The guys will have stronger bones, more masculine features, and the women, bigger breast, daintier hands. They tend to be more feminine. The idea of like regular people built normally are some kind of like underclass. The Morlocks. I think, yeah, Morlocks or Eloy. No, Morlocks. The Morlocks of this world. And then I'm like, well, how would you keep them separate? And of course, this is me, again, just thinking like, that's a problem to solve. Remember I said everything's about decisions? How would I solve that problem? Well, I'll make a Faraday cage. If you guys don't know, a Faraday cage is if you have metal that is susceptible to the EM spectrum, you make like a mesh, like a series of antennas, and you surround a space. It actually blocks signals from coming in or out. It turns out on my ship, when we're in a top secret space, the communications control room, they actually have copper mesh that the entire room is wrapped in, so signals can't leave or come out. It's very cool stuff. And so I thought, well, how about the idea of like this super oppressive nanny state? Because chicks love being told what to do and all that stuff, right? And it requires a lot of infrastructure to implement. And so from that infrastructure, they had Faraday cages, like a couple blocks wide in the middle of a city, because they need all of the antennas and the pipes and whatever. And so in this area here, there is no signals. There's no wireless signals that come in and none that come out. So it's like a lawless state. And then I'm like, well, it's just like how New Kowloon kind of worked, where that small Chinese area, they made their own little thing and it kind of built it up. And that's where I kind of came with the idea of the wireless and the analog. That's the slurish terms for the city and then the small piece inside the city. New Kowloon and I think the city, I called it Lab 126 or something like that. But it's just the analog and the wireless for sure, because everybody's got catchy names. San Francisco. So bam, and now we got a place for selling illegal stuff. We got a place for the illegal people, and we got a safe outer world. Plus, it kind of jives with that urban thing that the States has now, where you have like Baltimore, where you got an area like huge urban criminal element, or Chicago, and then you head north of the river, and it's just nice white suburban areas. I like the idea of these segmented city things, so I put that all together, and then I have them interact. And I put it in there. He just wants to buy a Zin and a coffee and get hopped up. Goes in there, runs into a whole bunch of people. His implants don't work, and so that's kind of. And then this is where I kind of layer onto it the idea of symbology. I'm really glossing over a lot, by the way. The idea of symbology is the objects in the story help you tell the themes of the story. The example I use here is tech is built by Amazon, which writing a book where Amazon's the big baddie, I don't know if that's a great idea, but we'll find out. The idea that he has eye implants, that he has his ears implanted, all kinds of weird implants, right? But everything is like fluorescent lighting in there. And so his eyes, they can't adjust fast enough, so everything is either pitch black or super bright. So he's not able to function in here. Meanwhile, there, with their normal eyes, you can just see them perfectly fine, right? Rolling 23rd selling dope to clucksters. What the hell? Fucking weird. Yeah, weird science. There's another one. That was actually a pretty good one. I liked it. They, them. Fucking hell. Oh, I get it. This guy's just trolling. You know what? I might have to add a thing here where they let you slow down. Yeah, I'll do that later. So I put all this stuff together, and I'm like, how about this? A great story. And then the guy, as I go through this, the guy starts to develop as I start solving problems. Like, how do I solve problems? How does he get from here to there? I'll have him like use Uber. But how can I take Uber and make it 20% more dystopian? Give him an Indian Uber driver. The guy was mocking, making fun of him, but because he's a minority, he has to give an automatic 20% tip. So I take all this like woke shit, and I was just like, let's add to it. And you know the worst part? The worst part of this is that in between me starting the book and finishing it, like 3 things that I thought, oh, this is so fucking exaggerated, it'll never, and they came true, and I was like, fuck. How more absurd do I have to make it until this shit doesn't actually happen? It's funny. You'll see it when you're reading the book. You're like, dude, we already have that. Like in Dog Walker, I say you'll laugh 3 times, guaranteed. And I remember the spots. And this one's like, there's 3 things in here that are dystopic, futuristic science fiction. And you're gonna be like, dude, we have that now. What are you talking about? Faraday cage is a structure of material which is a conductor of electricity. A normal car is a Faraday cage. You didn't have physics. I did. I just explained it really shittily. Sue me. It's a conductor of electricity. I don't care about that though. Poop is technically just a series of iron and H2O, but that doesn't really help me describe what poop really is. Poop is disgusting. That's my layer of abstraction to it. Jane Seymour, Live and Let Die. Oh, that's right, Jane Seymour. That was the famous one of the Seymours. Yeah, that would explain it. Yeah, Jane Seymour, fucking stunner. I mean, they both were stunners, but you know what I mean. Anyways, yeah, so like a series of decisions, and then I just kind of carry it through onto there. I was like, okay, so he goes and he buys Zin and he buys caffeine. And then I'm like, well, how would computers change? And let's talk about enshittification. You guys know about that. We just talked about that with games and that. How about the internet as enshittification? So here, they built their own network, and let's make it some 80s shit. And I was like, GopherNet. Remember, is anybody here old enough to remember GopherNet? I like the idea of the analog making a GopherNet. There was CRT screens, there was keyboards, and the guy's like, holy shit. It was just smoother. And everything has an ad to it. Like, if you wake up in the morning, you want to go to the bathroom, you have to watch an ad before they open the bathroom door. If you want to use your shower, they have to read you ads first. You want to open your door to get home, you got to watch an ad. Get in the elevator, there's an ad while it plays up. Everything is advertising. Everything sells everywhere. And all this older stuff, like there's no ads on the GopherNet. You just go in and you connect and you talk and you type. and it's quick and responsive, even though like the new fancy OLED technology has 500 hertz as a refresh rate, which is faster than anything. It's slower than this 30 frames a second CRT television. And I just liked that idea too. So like the two different technologies, and this is the fundamental theme of like, are we working for technology or is technology working for us? And so I lump the we're working for technology into the feminine side of things, because they love making things convoluted and annoying. And then I make the easier stuff. I make it so anything that's more older tech, older from what we would know now. That's why I use CRT as an example, cathode ray tubes. And then the newer stuff is all the fanciest, the newest stuff, and it always ends up working slower because of enshittification. I even added like Indian programmers. I loved it. One of the things, okay, I'll spoil the one thing that kind of came true was one of the characters used to be a team lead for Google. He's a mercenary now, and he got a little like army of like a dozen mercenaries. And he's telling the story about how there was the great Amazon takeover of like 2019 or like 26. I always reference random dates, and that's a different thing, but and he's going, yeah, so Google owned search. We had a market monopoly, and then they brought in a bunch of Indian programmers to save time, and they just started throwing ads in there so much that eventually search didn't work anymore. So they could fire the Indian programmers, they could remove all their code, but that was too much effort. What was easier was just to hire a team to invent AI, and then the AI would scour the internet and deliver the ad-free experience of stuff. And then what Amazon did as part of their like corporate warfare is they hired a bunch of Indians to work as industrial spies, signed on to Google, poisoned the AI with the AI ad slop that they had built anyway from India. And then the idea is AI got poisoned by the ad slops. Now AI was just slop. Google's stocks take a dive. Amazon conducts a hostile takeover. All of a sudden, Amazon owns all tech. They're the country. The three main countries I have in here are like Amazon, the Ukraine, and China. I always like that. Amazon, Ukraine. Oh no, Samsung, Amazon, Ukraine, which was like a battle state, and then China. Those are the four countries. But then the guy's like, well, then why would they start killing a bunch of people? Why do you guys have to escape like that? It's just they would lay you off. And it turns out Google had some really good golden parachutes. So what they did is they invented FemLaw. FemLaw is like anything you think of as feminist, but just make it legally enforceable by law. And so they would monitor everybody's cell phones. They would watch everybody on the street. They would put guards inside of arcades, like all kinds of feminist fan fiction theory stuff. And then eventually you put a guy in a room long enough, he's going to do something misogynist. And so then they would start just arresting and murdering people. So they didn't have to pay it and they could save a couple bucks. So these guys had to escape and they became mercenaries in the Ukraine. How funny is that? The reason that's funny is because by the time I finished it, Google search sucks. Google invented AI to scour through searching for you. And AI has now gotten to the point where it's using its training data is AI, and it's making its own deep fried AI data, which is making AI worse. And I was like, God damn it. Oh, there is guards in the arcades. The chick gives her husband shit right at the start. I don't like you in that arcade with all that dopamine. Why don't they have a FemLaw officer? It's like, no, they got a FemLaw officer. She lied to her that he was going there when he's like going to hook up stims. People are trying to give him like hookers, and he's like, no. Anyway, so I was having a blast with this, and this isn't the first iteration. I probably had 3 different iterations of what elements do I want to add to solve the problems of how to push the story forward. Like, I'm telling you a lot of background right now, but in the story, I don't do any of this. Most of the time in the story, it's like, as the story needs to progress, some details will come out, but just the amount of details that are needed to push the story forward. So a lot of this is you understanding there's a world outside of this. Of course I read Flowers for Algernon. So you've had too much DDR today. Yeah, exactly. Shit like that. But you never see an arcade in the thing. You just see like a 1/2 line. Dark Knight Dev, $5 super chat. When I worked for FedEx in 2015, we delivered for Amazon. Oh. FedEx overcharged negotiations, so Amazon bought their own trucks, and the rest was history. Yeah, you see? And this is what I love about like Cyberpunk in general, but or Cyberpunk specifically and sci-fi in general. We have that. FedEx 2015 delivered for Amazon, overcharged because they wanted to make money and siphon off Amazon's market share. Amazon's like, fuck it, we'll just build our own trucks, build our own fleet. They do all this kind of industrial and corporate sabotage all the time. So I'm like, just take that and let's add 20%. Let's invent a police force just to get these guys out of these contracts so we can save a couple bucks. And I'm like, how awesome was that? And if I did it well, which I think I did, but I'm biased, I wouldn't believe me if I was you, so you're going to have to believe your own. If I did it well, you should be able to see this stuff. And you're like, oh, dude, this reminds me of this thing that I'm having right now. A little more absurd. Ideally, every detail in here should have that. But that's not a story either. That's just a setting. What's the story? Well, the story is a guy going from Redditor to a man. His rite of passage. It's literally a rite of passage. A rite of passage. Cinderella for men. Like, what the fuck? That makes no sense, dude. But when you read it, it makes sense. It works. It's reasonable. He goes from being a bitch. And I don't even want to spoil the ways in which he is a bitch in the earlier thing. Like, yeah, he's downtrodden. He's beaten down by his wife. Absolutely. There's so many funny ways he gets beaten down by his wife. It's not even funny. It's not what you expect. He wants to be a dad. He wants to start a family. It's weaponized against him. He wants this girl to actually appreciate him and treat him like she desires him, and she weaponizes that against him, and it's like, oh my God, and his job doesn't respect him, and they get all this shit together. And he's not like the one. I always hated that trope too, where he's the one, he's the savior, the prophecy. Like, fuck the prophecy. I actively do a lot of times in this where there is like a classic type of movie trope that people would use to solve a problem. In like, how do I get the character to go from zero to hero? Well, let's make him the one. And let's make him come to terms with it. I'm like, fuck that. Make him just some guy. Yeah, maybe he's got a skill that's helpful in the moment, but yeah, not. So there's a lot of times where you would expect some kind of cliched pastiche. Remember when I was talking before? The cultural laundering? Any time where I felt that coming on in the work, I would, no. First principles. What is it I'm trying to do? How is it I want to get there? And it's not so much I want to subvert the trope, but how would I do this if this trope didn't exist? And so it ends up getting like interesting things that you wouldn't think. Now, if it ends up being, okay, so the trope actually kind of works, I need to be there for a reason, not just because, oh, it's the cool thing. So yeah. And then again, make it interesting the entire time. Never explain. I'm explaining it all to you now because I'm just talking. It's just you and me and the camera and that ring light. But in the book, no. Show, don't tell. When he's nervous, don't say he's nervous. Say his fucking eyes twitching. Oh, yeah. For some reason, I have like a hyperfixation with eyes in this one too. I didn't even think about it. Like people losing eyes, eye implants, integration with weapons and stuff. Like when I was talking before about the tropes and how I don't like the idea of a trope. Here's a good example. Everybody thinks Deckard when they think Blade Runner, when they think Cyberpunk. They think a trench coat and they think a revolver, right? So I'm like, okay, I like the idea of a guy having a revolver, but why would he have a revolver? Just because it's cool? Because the thing is, I'm like, that's not good enough. Because it's cool from Blade Runner is not a good reason. So in my case, he's like a nervous wreck. And I don't think I'm spoiling anything on this one. He's like a nervous wreck. And the guy who's running the militia, who's helping him get from point A to point B, he's like, look, if you run into trouble, just take this. And he hands him a revolver. He's like, oh, fuck, cool. And he's like, yeah, it integrates with your ocular implants. So you can be a little more accurate and blah, blah, blah. He's like, oh, it's neat. And now he has it. And you don't find out until later why that specific interaction happened. But it happens for a reason. And I'm not going to spoil it. Because this is like in Act 2. And then you find out in Act 6 why that happened. And it makes sense why it happened. Like, oh, that's exactly why I would have done that. Yeah, it makes perfect sense. But at the time, I don't tell you anything. It's just there. It's like a foreshadowing thing. And you're like, is that just one of those stupid tropes? Like, no. There's like 100 things that I do that with. Sometimes, and there's a lot of humiliation rituals for the guy when he's early on. Like at one point, they need to wear Halloween costumes. And there's a reason for it. But because he's a soft bone, and all the other guys were, you know, proper men with the freckles and all that stuff, they get to wear like pirate costumes and ghosts and stuff because they could fit the men-sized costumes. But he's a soft bone, so he has to go shopping in the girls section. See what I mean? It's like little things like that. But it ends up helping him in the end for a goofy reason. So it kind of establishes like, yeah, even though you may be just a feminine bitch of a man, it doesn't mean you're useless. It just means you're not masculine. And it ends up there's certain things that he has from this experience that make him better able to handle very specific situations. And then through those little successes, he starts building a little bit of confidence. And then as the story progresses, he gets more confident, gets more brazen, ends up like finding his own masculinity through the end. And then by the end of it, you end up with a guy. I gave him a bomber jacket. I didn't give him a trench coat because I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. A leather bomber jacket and a fucking revolver. And it's like, he's got that cool factor, that cool Deckard thing to him. But he had to earn it. He had to earn it. It's there for a thematic reason. The jacket was there for a reason. The pistol was there for a reason. His implant is there for a legitimate reason. It's almost like a symbol of his what's that stupid thing? If you watch the hero's journey, it's the one where he crosses the threshold, like where Gandalf fights the Balrog and stuff. His implants end up playing a pivotal role in that, which is cool. The only thing I found that's a little on the nose is there's a femme fatale in this one, and her name is Fatale. Or femme. It turns out there's a Slavic name, Fatal. It has cool meanings to it, but I'm like, that's like femme fatale. Like, I'll go with that. I named the Asian guy Han. Again, that one is kind of like... But for me, a lot of Cyberpunk was made in the 80s. And if you guys don't remember, the 80s had a lot of fear of Japan taking over. Oh, dude, Japan was going to overtake America by 1997. Obviously never happened. They had their lost decade or whatever, and they're kind of stagnated as number 3. But back then they were terrified of it. And so everything in Cyberpunk always had Japanese shit. There was always samurai and crap like that. And I was kind of like, I don't want to just do that. Because right now China's going to take over everything. So I make it China. The CCP. Of course, I also make it shitty Temu Chinese knockoff shit. So it's both the existential threat to the West, and it's also the incompetent thing. Kind of like we should have displayed Japan as. But there is a Japanese character, and there's a reason for him to be there, and there's something that you would not expect. Like, there is no Neo Tokyo. But that was me thinking, like, remember Akira? Oh, Tokyo got bombed again. I'm like, let's just take this and add 20% to it. In this case, I make it so there's like a genocide. Japanese people are wiped off the face of the earth. There's like handfuls of them everywhere. And I'm like, neat. And so there's like a story reason that happens, and it's a prime motivator for one of the characters. The Japanese are all wiped out. They're genocided. So what do we do? And that drives his character. He's the harem character. He's the one that wants the harem of women. But then, yeah, everything kind of makes sense here. And it's got to be fantastical. It's all going to make sense. Dude, there's no way you won't like it. I fucking love it. I've read it 3 times already. I've got to read it another 4th time here to check the last minute errors and stuff. Very subtle. Rising Sun by Sean Connery. That's another good example. I actually got to do an Orion review on that one. Mostly because of the way they develop like AI videos and stuff in there. Like the fake shit. Is so poignant for today. Another good one. Win some hacks. There's Rising Sun with Sean Connery, and then there is Ricochet with Denzel Washington and John Lithgow. Those are 2 cyberpunk melodramas that nobody remembers, were really good, and they kind of predicted the future, which is pretty cool. I should probably do those ones soon here. Actually, you know what? I'm going to make a note for that. Oh, there's a wrestler named Ricochet. 1991. Jesus Christ. All right, so Ricochet and Rising Sun. I got a bit into Slavic mythology lately. It's so strange. It's refreshing. Yeah. And honestly, that's what good stories. Yes, they're telling you a story. And yes, you can make things comfortable and familiar, but I always argue that it's better when they introduce things that you might not know. You remember that Fat Albert? You ever watch the Fat Albert show? The cartoon with Cosby? You better be careful, you might learn something. I always like that too. Anyway, so I've got 10 more minutes until we have to do the bants. So you take all these things, and again, it's a layered approach. Like I told you before at the start, let's take a bunch of things that are happening now that are really dystopic, and let's follow through. Let's take that. If trends continue, they will be here. And I'm like, let's take that. So we take those. And then we take the family creation things, the single mom, the widow, the divorced guy, the incel wanting the harem, and let's put those as the characters. So we layer the dystopic stuff and then the characters. And then what kind of story you want to tell? Let's tell like a Cinderella story. Okay, let's put all of these things onto the Cinderella story. You've already got like 3 or 4 layers of stories right here, and you got to weave them together, and that's the trick to it. And the best thing about it when you're telling a story is that you can take as much time as you need. You can write it out, and I did. There's probably, like, I always laugh when Nick was editing this. When I got through the first draft, he's like, dude, you went from Starship Troopers the book to Starship Troopers the movie here. And I was like, oh, I was like, fuck. So I scrapped all that. That was probably like 30,000 words just gone, which is fine. Got to explore something, had to answer some. So like, how do I answer this question? And it was the idea of like, how do I get him to go from A to B? How do I get him to transform from A to B? How do I get this concept to go from A to B? And so I tried different ones. And then I realized, okay, so for a lot of things, a book doesn't do it. Like a book can't be a movie. So I can't just describe a scene the way you would describe a movie, because it's just like, hey, do you want a piece of shit version of a movie? Here you go. So like, how would a book handle this? And I was like, so yeah, you're kind of constrained by the medium, which is great, because then it gave me a lot of key ideas once I stopped trying to write a movie in my head and started writing a book on the page. So yeah, action set pieces don't really work in books like they do with movies. So like, all right, just don't do an action set piece. So how can I solve this problem? And the funniest and the ironic part is I got inspired by a movie. Do you remember Big Trouble in Little China? Oh, I love that movie. But one of the things I loved about it, and I think it was probably a cost-saving measure, but right during the big action set piece fight near the end, everybody's getting ready to fight. Jack Burton shoots his gun up in the sky, and then a bunch of rocks fall from it and hit him in the head and knock him out. And he wakes up as the fight's over. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of a neat idea. And so I took that idea. Yeah, so I took that idea. Oh yeah, Big Trouble is brilliant. And I'm like, yeah, so how about this? How about if there needs to be a big action scene where there's a lot of flashing around, but it doesn't do anything for the story? If you don't need it, just get rid of it. And that's probably one of the best things I ever learned about writing stories, is if somebody can skip a piece and not miss anything important, then just get rid of it. It's not needed. Well, then you don't have a full book. Well, maybe that's your problem. And then remember what I was talking about like an hour ago about wasting the person's time? Yeah, right there. If there is a bunch of stuff that I had to add in to make the book the size of a book, didn't add anything to the plot, didn't do anything but fluff myself about how great my world building is. Like that whole thing I've explained about how I decided to make a cyberpunk world. If I explained it in the book, I would have failed you as an author. Absolutely failed you. And I'm like, I'm not going to do that. And so yeah, a big part of it was just, okay, I'm going through. Is this needed? No. Get rid of it. Is this needed? No. Get rid of it. And then as I was doing that, things weren't an appropriate size for the book. And you can answer that with one of two questions. Like one of two things to solve that problem. Either more things happen, or you explore the things that are happening deeper. Add more dialogue, add more action, add more exposition, or add more events. And sometimes events are where it's at. All right, so let's have him doing something else. In this case, let's just explore this piece. Let's slow down, look at this specific section. Like there's one point where they're going to a city, a new Kowloon in Odessa. I thought the new Kowloon was in the West. It's like, yeah, there is, but there's a reason for that. And they're worried about drones. Drone warfare is the biggest thing. They just come down. They've got an AI technology. They can spot people a mile away. You can't react fast enough. It's just killing people. And so there's one part where they have to walk a block. And so I'm like, and then I ended up in the part that was a little bit short because I got rid of a bunch of action set pieces. I'm like, dude, let's expand that a little bit. This is a great time to establish characterization. And this is where I kind of add, where you find out the one guy used to be a Google tech, and I kind of hinted it from other places there. You find out the main character, and which is named Jake eventually, and Buck, which is the Google tech guy who's a mercenary. You find out he's like, oh, this guy used to be just like me. So it kind of gives you a, like, oh, this is what you could become. And it turns out just by getting rid of stuff that was wasting the reader's time, it gave me a great opportunity then to expand on this stuff. So now the characters are more fleshed out. They're more well-rounded. They're less one-dimensional. You start to empathize with one over the other, and you start to see, oh, is this a foreshadowing? Like, is he going to end up like this, or is he going to end up like something different? And it's really cool. And then the ocular implant stuff kind of taps into that. Because that's what a lot of it is. Like, you put a bunch of cool shit together, or a bunch of interesting stuff together, and then as you do it, once you start like, okay, so how do I establish that this character is moving towards this arc? And now I have all of these symbols that are already in the book, and they're already symbolizing certain things, and then the ones that are applicable to this, I just put them together. I say just, but yeah. Can we get B-Mask? I don't know what the hell B-Mask is. Here, oh, right. Yeah, if you're gonna, I don't know if this is a Billy read or a really thing. But I'm gonna need you to not be autistic, because I'm getting weird vibes from it. Yeah, Blade Runner was just some guy. I mean, he was a good Blade Runner, but he was just some guy. He was just a cop who was good at his job. Yeah, well, do me a favor, just throw an @ if you're gonna do film review guide. Just add an @ and then whatever, like that. It makes it a lot easier. Thank you. And then how do I want to end it? That's the other thing. So there's the writing advice that I got early on, and I don't know how much I want to say it's like golden or not, where they tell you start with the end and then work backwards from there. Start with the end, then put in the beginning, and then the fill in between is everything else. The reason they tell you to do that, and this is for any story you're telling with anything, the reason they tell you to start at the end is because what a lot of people will do is they end up, fuck, I have an ending. Like, I know where I want this to end, but I'm just writing a story, and then you either stop at an arbitrary spot, in which case it doesn't have a conclusion, doesn't have an epilogue, it's missing something, right? Or they kind of do one of those Deus Ex Machina, where God comes down, fixes everything, gives you the ending you want. And those are very unrewarding and unfulfilling. So when you start at the ending you want, and you work backwards, you can always, it's always like a reasonable arc to get to the end from when you work backwards. Exactly. So you don't want to write yourself into a corner. I enjoy that, but I also find it's limiting, because there was a lot of things I wanted to do in this one, but then as the story progressed, they kind of went by the wayside. Like, I was really wanting to focus on like the true dystopia stuff. But then as the story progressed, it was really just like more of a minor character in this thing, not so much a main one. And so if I had ended it off with some kind of like true ending, it wouldn't have worked. So I find it's good to kind of have, like, yes, it's good to start with an ending, but I would argue keep it vague. Vague enough that you can fiddle with it. I guess it's like a post-it note. Yeah. But yeah, the big ones. And that's it. And if you guys do nothing else, dude, I'm eventually, so my plan is, now that this book is done, I have 3 more audiobooks to do. I have to do Prax 3, or no, Prax 4 and the audiobook, Dog Walker's audiobook, and Softbone's audiobook. So it's going to be a very busy couple months. And once that stuff's done, on my to-do list now is I'm finding a lot of authors are really just like insecure about it, which I don't get. I'm not saying I'm Hemingway at all. I am saying I'm like competent enough at it. I can get the job done. And a lot of people, they may know how to tell stories, but they don't know how to make books. And so I'm probably going to be doing a course coming in the next year of everything surrounding a book other than writing a book. Because everybody has how to write a book. I'm like, I don't care about that. I never read any of those, by the way. I don't think those courses are useful at all. But the idea of basic desktop publishing, basic ideas of cover design, hiring vendors, the idea of an audiobook mastering, typeface choices, marketing, all that easy, simple stuff around it. So I think that'd be kind of cool. Yeah, I believe that was Pixar's old policy. Plan the ending first. Story is king. I can see that. I can see that. But yeah. Anyways, I enjoy it. There's no way you guys won't enjoy it. I was talking earlier about mashing things up, and this one is an absolute mash. Like, it's got a heist, like, you know, the heist story mixed in with cyberpunk stories, mixed in with like red pill stories. Like I said, the thing about single moms, the thing about, you know, guys wanting only 9s and 10s, bro, those are all types of stories. You mix all of this stuff together. You mix feminism and you mix all of it in there, and you have this mishmash of like 4 or 5 different genres of storytelling, and they work together. Siege D, $4.99 super chat. 1 cent less of a heartfelt. Oh, dude, I know, and I am aware, and I am thankful. Oh my God, Stefan Molyneux is plagiarizing home math, man. Yeah, dude. Did you guys see that? You probably didn't, but he did. I was on Twitter this morning, and I look, and Bad Billy Pratt, he's like, what the hell is this? And he had a screenshot of Stefan Molyneux talking about just some old ass Stefan Molyneux takes. He's back, by the way, so good for him. Where it was, ladies, you can't all fight for the top 10% of men. There's just not enough of them to go around. And then Homath quote tweeted it going, this guy's stealing my material. And I'm like, what the fuck? Does he not know? Like, is this rage bait? And so I click it. I go and find it. I click it. I'm looking. And he's like, no, he really believes Stefan Molyneux stole his stuff. And everybody's like, you fucking idiot. Stefan's been doing this for 15 years. How do you not know? And he's like, well, I'm going to have to go and look at his material. I'm like, I haven't laughed this much since people were accusing Rollo Tomasi of stealing, what's his name? Kevin, the black dude that died. No, it sounded like a preacher. God damn it. Why am I not remembering his name? Kevin Samuels. Yeah, when everybody's like, you're stealing shit from Kevin Samuels. Rollo's like, what the fuck? Yeah. Oh, shit makes me laugh. This is Stefan Molyneux guy. He's stealing my egg carton memes. Yeah, not Alan Roger Curry in this one. This one I was definitely... Because Alan Roger Curry has his own stuff. People would be stealing from Alan Roger Curry. His Mode 1 pickup stuff. Absolutely good stuff. Kevin Samuels just stole Rational Male stuff, and he made it sound like a preacher. And that was just funny. You're stealing from Kevin Samuels, Rollo. It's like, what the fuck? You really don't know who Stefan Molyneux is? Oh, dude, he was the original. I mean, he's one of the originals. There was like Royce and Roosh and all that stuff. And then right after that, when that kind of went down, you had Stefan Molyneux and who's the blonde chick? Like, and Cernovich and all those stuff. They kind of came up the second part of that. So yeah. Todd V is back. Look at him go. Lawrence Southern, that's the chick, yeah. So Stefan Molyneux was part of like the Lawrence Southern generation. That was the one after Roosh and Chateau Ortiz and all that stuff. And he was doing it for a long time. He was on Joe Rogan, all this thing. He was like a big thing. And then he just kind of died and everybody banned him off of everything. He really did. Like back when cancel culture was a real thing and not a marketing strategy, they got him pretty hard. Pretty fucking hard. There's technically a story in there if you want to do it too. I don't want to do it, but... And that's kind of one of the things I do like now. So now that like I'm writing... Dude, I love it. So when I wrote Fuck Files, like, what do you do? And I'm like, I don't know what to say. I could say an author, but I have one book. A lot of people have merch books, and it's like, I'm an author, no homo. And then I got Dread out, and then I got Frame out, and then I had a confidence to say, yeah, dude, I'm an author. What do you write? I write nonfiction. Relationship stuff. It's like cultural anthropology of niche internet space that was dealing with relationship stuff, which it's still kind of cringe to talk about, but whatever. And then I wrote The Dog Walker, and now I'm like, well, what do you write? Oh, I write fiction. What kind of stuff? Oh, contemporary fiction. No homo. But now that Softbone's out, I'm like, dude, I'm a fiction author. What do you write? Oh, all kinds of things. The no homo is gone. Yes, hello, this is the state of the Manosphere in 2025. Yeah. I honestly, I am rooting for Stefan Molyneux on this one. I've never been the biggest fan of his, but I enjoy him being here. Like, as long as he's here and doing well, I'll be fine. So I want Stefan Molyneux to do well. But he's got two directions he can go. He can go in the what the fuck's that guy's name? Stefan or not? Ian or Yiannopoulos. You know him, and he's kind of like cringe and shitty right now. He's kind of on. He went the way of Perez Hilton, and there's a name drop you haven't heard in a while, where it's kind of like old and cringe and oh, look at the boomer. Or he can go into the other direction, which is like the fucking speedrunner. What is his name? Not Jeffrey Combs. He had the big fight. Billy Mitchell. Yeah, Milo was very funny in his height. So here's the thing. You can either become a Milo Yiannopoulos or you become a Billy Mitchell. And Milo Yiannopoulos, yeah, he's still doing his thing, but it's kind of cringe. It's kind of like, it doesn't hit right. It's not as popular. The kids don't agree with it. It's kind of very out of touch vibe to it, right? And then you got Billy Mitchell. Billy Mitchell was like the Donkey Kong speedrunner from the 80s. Totally lied about this, that, and the other thing. Was like a villain for a decade. And then he ended up suing Karl Jobst for defamation because he said that he directly caused people to commit suicide or something like that. He's having a bit of a resurgence. Everybody's like, oh, dude, this guy's awesome. So, yeah, Stefan Molyneux can go one of two directions. He could become the Perez Hilton Milo Yiannopoulos, or he could become the Billy Mitchell. And I really hope he becomes Billy Mitchell. Yeah, the game guy. It's just some people are better able to rise like a phoenix from the ashes than the others. Tom Cruise, another great example. He was like top of the world, doing the greatest things, and then he became very cringe and old person for the longest time. And then he just came back. He's like, you know what? Let's just hit to what is good. I'm just going to make really good movies. And he started doing his Mission Impossible stuff like after 4 or whatever. He's like, oh, dude, he's awesome. He'll be on Fresh. He's not going to be on Fresh and Fit. If Stefan goes on anything, he'll go on whatever. But my thought is he's probably not going to do either. Because like I said, he was one of the guys who was on Joe Rogan. So I think he's going to want to shoot for like the Pierce Morgan shit show stuff. That'd be my guess. Is that a good decision? I don't think so. I think if he's smart, I think he'll avoid all of this shit. I think he'll separate himself from everybody else and make his own thing. Like the idea of, all right, kids, like kids are having a party at their parents' place and their dad comes home. It's like, all right, let's clean this shit up. If he comes in with that kind of attitude, I think he'll do well. But, I mean, people are attracted to fame and the idea of collaborating. I could be on Pierce Morgan. That's so famous. He might fall for that shit. You never know. Yeah, Tropical Thunder really helped with Cruisers. Exactly. And here, back to the Cruise resurgence, and the reason why it didn't work so well with Milo is that with Cruise, he was like, he knew his reputation. He knew the stuff that people were mocking him over, and so he decided to kind of lean into it. There's a self-awareness to it. He understands that people think he's the crazy Scientologist. So what does he do? He plays an asshole producer. And he's like strips all of Tom Cruise from the character, but it's Tom Cruise. And you're like, holy shit, that's actually pretty good. It makes you not think of him as the Scientology guy. It's like, hey, by the way, did you know I can act and make good movies? And you're like, no, fuck off, Scientologist. He takes all the Scientology away, takes all the hair away. You're like, holy shit, he's awesome. Yiannopoulos, I don't think he did that. Because he came back with like, and he was just doing the same thing he always did. I'm going to say some outrageously controversial shit. It's going to get a bunch of soccer moms really mad, and then you guys are going to love it that I'm sticking it to the man. But the man is different now. The one you're sticking it to. What are you going to do? Get mad Oh, I'm no longer gay. I'm straight. What, do you think the gay cabal is going to get mad at you for that? They don't give a shit anymore. They can't use you for clout. They can't strip it away. And so you look at that, you're like, oh, for fuck's sakes. Like, I get it. He's gay, but he's pretending not to be gay. I think it would have been better if he had just gone back to, like, serious political analysis. I remember before we used to wear, like, a suit with a pearl necklace, but just play it straight. Like, don't say anything gay. Have, like, the little thing, like, a big, like, the pearl necklace, like Marge Simpson. And just sitting here talking about, see, the problem with Israel is when they go into the thing, and Jordan is this, and then Iran, and this. I think it would have worked fucking well. But, hey, we're at where we're at. Yeah, he still needs to calibrate a little egg. Is he still doing the egg cartons? Oh. Yeah, I would probably walk away from the egg carton stuff, too. Because then he'll end up like Rivellino. Because Rivellino, if you guys don't remember him, he was the pickup artist that fucked 8 girls in 10 years. Moved to Spain because age of consent in Spain was 14, so he could pick up high school girls because it was easier, according to him. Which is funny because none of this stuff is what he's known for. Nobody knows any of this stuff. What happened was he always had this thing where he loved Jason Statham, so clearly he looks like Jason Statham. And he would draw green lines on people. If you leaned in, you were a cuck. If you leaned straight, you were good. And the make a triangle, cover your dick or not. It's all like this weird phrenology, pseudoscience stuff. Anyways, Justin Wang one day on his like gaming streams like, you guys hear about this green line guy? And so now 250,000 people got exposed to the green line meme and they just rolled with it. And he's like, well, I guess I'm a clown now. And so he started making the green, like drawing a green line on a photo of a guy to make fun of him. That was now his shtick, and now he's in this box. And so everything he does has to be surrounding this. He tries to make, maybe a dotted green line, and like a lot of variations of it. So my thought is if Safan, and this is free advice for him, he can take it or not take it. But if he just starts talking egg cartons on everything, he's going to end up as a Rivellino. He'll be the butt end of a joke, a lol cow. He'll just be milked for laughter. So I really hope he doesn't. And I think it's a lot of problems that Gen Xers especially, but millennials also have, is they don't understand Zoomers, which you do. You have to. If you're in an entertainment venue at all, and social media is that, it is going to have an inordinate amount of young people, and so they are driving the culture in a way that older generations just aren't. And the thing about Zoomers is there's a couple things that I've noticed about them. One, they love to act retarded to bait you into taking them seriously. I don't know why it's a thing, but it's a thing. Remember that meme where the guy's like, her, I'm retarded? And everybody's like, fuck off, retard. And he goes, I was just joking about being retarded. That one. A lot of them do that. So when you watch a lot of these things, like why would like the cooking videos where they're just doing stupid stuff that doesn't work, they just think it's funny to piss off the millennials who get so passionate about cooking that they yell at them. So I kind of get that. Yeah, I remember that. I thought that post was a joke. Yeah, and if they're a joke, they work too, right? If it's a joke, or it's like, yeah, I get it. I don't really care about it. There's a bunch of YouTubers like Dreg. I think it's Greg with a J, J-R-E-G. He's kind of a weird one. He's from Ontario. What do they call it? They call it postmodern or post-irony, postmodern irony, something like that. But it's the idea, and then it's the idea that you're either millennials were ironic, where you say something, but they know you mean the exact opposite. Zoomers are post-irony, where they say something, but they don't tell you if they're doing it ironically or sincerely, and they deadpan it. So you have to guess. Like, in a way, they just don't commit to the bit, but they commit to not committing to the bit. So you have to look, and a Zoomer will say the most retarded, pants-on-head retarded stuff. And you're like, are you saying this ironically as like a shit post, or are you saying this sincerely? And you never know. So you have to inject your own meaning into it. Which I find is kind of I hope they grow out of that, because that's the problem, is that fence sitting really hurts your asshole, and it's good. I would say sincerity is the new trend that's going to come up, where people are like, I'm just going to say what I mean. It's fine. But yeah, from a humor perspective, when somebody deadpans irony in a way that's completely Reddit retarded. And that's why millennials keep falling for it, because they're acting like Redditors, ironically. But it's plausible because they want to believe that all of their Reddit irony, narwhals and bacon, am I right? They're like, oh, I know, ironically, right? They're like, no, sincere. You're like, what the fuck? So yeah, for a lot of older people, if you don't understand this stuff, I think it plays right into making you more cringe on the internet. And there's nothing worse than that. Dude, you can get cucked. Adam22 is doing better than a lot of this cringe shit. You can literally have somebody fuck your wife in front of you for a game show and do better in the public sphere than not understanding Zoomer humor. It's fucking wild, man. How do you not love this stuff? There's a sophistication in it that's, I'd argue, it's really good. Really good. What's up, y'all? Man, I wish I could have Ryan tell this story about a guy that I know. Perfect example of a guy needing the red pill and heading to a rough zeroing out, and I can't say anything to him. I mean, you can. You're just going to understand that A, he doesn't want to hear it. B, he's going to throw you under the bus with that information. And C, he's never going to use it even if he does need it. So it's kind of one of those things. So, I guess we're going to call it about 15 minutes. Yeah, Stefan Molyneux, man. Rooting for him. I really am. Plus the fact, I think he lives like in Mississauga. So, like, if push comes to shove, I'm like, dude, we could do a collab. Imagine that, go on with Stefan Molyneux. Like, I don't have any, like, fanboy shit with it. For me, it'll just be like, oh, it's a cool guy doing his thing, and I'll do my thing. Whatever. But if he goes cringe, then I'm like, nah, no. Exactly. Gotta let him fail. I mean, you aren't letting him. He's just gonna do it. It's kind of like those videos of Wild Kingdom or whatever with David Attridge, where they're filming a case of like a lion chasing a zebra. You know, a zebra's got to get eaten. Zebra's gonna get away. Zebra's gonna get eaten. Whatever way it is, don't get in the way. Just let him do it. Stefan, yeah, no, Mississauga. Or as we call it here, Big Trouble in Little China. It's like 89% Chinese nationals in Mississauga and Richmond Hill. It's fucking crazy. Canada's so dystopic, man. We have like racial ghettos. Brampton, if you say Brampton, what you mean is Indian. 100%. It's like 90% Indian. There's videos on TikTok eventually. You'll see like a white guy in Brampton and you read the comments like, where the fuck did this guy come from? Why do we hear boss music? Exactly. Yeah. Mississauga's all Asian. There's a Jewish community here too. I don't know where it is. I know it's close to me because there's fucking Hamas protests every fucking weekend. Dude, you'd think that there's a bunch of people that want me to have a strong opinion one way or another about an Israeli blood feud with Iran that's been going on for 2,000 years now, but it just makes me irritated, all of it. I am tired of seeing Hamas protests marching by my place with that one stupid truck and the soccer moms, and I'm tired of watching their police escorts. I'm like, who's paying for this police escort? I know the city's not paying for it. These are off-duty guys. They're moonlighting as security, which you can do as a cop, which I didn't know. Gotta pronounce Brampton with the accent. No, dude, fuck that accent. Fuck that accent. If you guys... So there's Canadian accents. There's a few of them. There is like the Prairie accent. There's like Thunder Bay. There's Newfie accents. There's PEI. There's the Albertan. And there's like your BC hippie one. There's like a bunch of... And there's... in Quebec, there's quite a few accents. But they're mostly in French. You know what I'm saying? There's a bunch of Canadian accents. But in Brampton... and the 401 in general, they have this weird accent. And it's like Persian, Indian, immigrant, mixed with American black, like Ebonics. But it just sounds fucking retarded. And it's on TikTok all the time. You can always recognize it as some immigrant kid talking. And it makes them sound stupid. Like, you know, when you listen to like a rapper talk, like, oh, it's kind of rhythmic, it's cool, it's whatever. You listen to some accents, it makes, you know, Southerners, they say, oh, inbred, blah, blah, blah. But like, they all have a flavor to them. But this one, you just listen to it and it's like, you sound like an idiot. There's nothing to it. Well, yeah, there's Letterkenny for that Ontario accent. Which I've heard, I mean, as the longer I'm living here, the more I'm kind of picking it up too. Like I picked up a touch of a Montreal accent when I was in Montreal for a bit. It's gone away now, thank God. But I will say the Northern Ontario accent reminds me a hell of a lot of the interior of BC. Like that fucking Canadian accent where you're talking about grabbing darts, going by the river. You know what I'm saying, man? Fucking rights, bud. Like all that stuff, that's definitely a very... I don't know much about the Boomhauer accent for King of the Hill, but that's not... I'm talking about the Toronto, the 401. I can't even do it. I don't even want to do it because it just sounds fucking stupid. But I mean, that's kind of like a Toronto thing anyway. Toronto, for some reason, there's people that are from here that desperately want to be New Yorkers. Yeah, we're New York. We got our same New York here. It's like, no, we're not New York. At best, we're Chicago. At best. And even then, Chicago doesn't have nearly as many Indians. Not even close. I should warn you, by the way. There is, in Softbone, there's a bit of like frustrations with India. Just a bit. They run the ride shares. They ruin the TV ads. You know, that kind of stuff. Something else I forgot to check here. Oh, they're in pre-drafts. All right. I was going to end the show with a link to the pre-sales on Softbone, but I have my last QA check today. So what can I say? Follow me on Substack. If you haven't, follow me on Substack. ryanstone.substack.com. I'll put a link in here. Join in on it. I'm going to be marketing the book heavily. If you're curious, if I've whet your appetite even a little bit, or if it's just you like to support the channel, you like to support me, you like the idea of the Red Pill stuff out there, I'll be sending excerpts. I'll be talking about storytelling in general. I've been showing you like the process, how I design the cover, how I develop a story, stuff like that. Yeah, get in there. Follow it up. It's an email. It's free. Follow it in. And then, you know, if you find out, dude, actually, this book does look interesting, I will give it a shot. I haven't read fiction in 10 years. I'm going to try one out. This is the one to do. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. I mean, the Dog Walker would have been, but, you know, we're here now. So, yeah, sign up. Get in. It's free. You'll get emails. Every Tuesday, I'm still doing the case studies and field reports, by the way. So if you are still in your, I'm learning Red Pill, I'm implementing Red Pill, I've learned Red Pill, and I like seeing that I know how far I've come, it's great for that stuff because you're going to see the implementation of the sidebar from people. Sometimes it's good stuff. Sometimes it's bad stuff. Sometimes it's misguided stuff. Sometimes there's occasionally little meta stuff. Like a lot of the ones I've been focusing on now are, what do you want? Like guys that are just aimless and all the self-improvement in the world's not going to help if you don't have a direction to steer in. And the different ways that manifests in a guy's male action plan. I find it fascinating. It's like I've told you guys from the start, the Red Pill is not a very wide pool, but it runs really deep. And so, yeah, you just take the idea of what do you want, waving a magic wand, a mental point of origin, and you can give tens of thousands of words. I've probably got a 5th book. I might end up doing the thing where Praxeology has like an annual Reader's Digest. Speaking of which, so on Softbone, I have the soft release date of August 1st. And then Praxeology 4, I don't know when to release that yet. I don't know if I want them stepping over each other. It's different genres. It's a different audience. I don't think it'll be an issue if they're released a little closer together. But part of me kind of wants to just space them out because that's way too much, taking on too much work at a time. So I think it's probably better. But hey, whatever. Anyways, let's end it off with, oh, dude, we haven't laughed at this asshole in a while.
Not Ryan Stone. I think he's the most important guy in the world. Ryan Stone. Give a fuck about Ryan Stone. Me and him have gone back and forth. Blah, blah,
yeah.
blah. Ryan Stone does not pass the 6-foot test. He's not even a man. So I don't give a fuck with Ryan Stone.
Hey, brother, who do you think is the funniest member of Rule Zero Squad? Now? What's your favorite comment joke of theirs? I think Ryan brings good laughs. He does. Ryan is like British humor. It's like Monty Python. And people are like, if you get it, you laugh your ass off. If you don't get it, you're like...
Fuck Ryan Stone.
People just don't get his humor. Who's the funniest one on there? You mean besides John Fitch? I think John Fitch is the funniest member of Rule Zero, but he's unintentionally funny. With the robot dogs.
Seeing this robot dog in real life was pretty surreal and terrible.
Yeah, Cappy's pretty funny. It can be pretty funny too. It was the funniest movie.
Yeah, I saw that Bonnie Blue and Tate. To be fair, I don't really care about the Bonnie Blue thing. I don't care about the Tate thing, other than like it's free marketing for me. The one thing I loved is Governor, who's I think he's in the chat now. He did a meme where he put Hulk Hogan on Bonnie Blue's face and what's her face, Megan Fox on Tate's. So it's like the Hulk Hogan with the pussy and the and the Megan Fox with the dick meme. It's fucking beautiful. The problem is it's such like a niche joke that nobody else will get it other than people like in this chat. But I really do fucking love it. It's so funny. Anyways, we got 5 minutes here. I have to set us up for... Where's the stupid thing? I don't know who's hosting Rule 0, but it might be time to go find out. Nuke, who's doing the hosting today? Let me give you guys a redirect. I haven't done that for the last little bit. Oh, it is Nuke. Oh, you're doing it. All right, guys. It's like Rule 0, but Dominican. Which means it's Rule 0, but the jeans are a lot tighter. I don't have many Dominican jokes. All I know is, and this is the weird thing, like I don't feel one way or another about this, but during my naval travels, I remember spending some time in Puerto Rico, Mexico, Panama, and it was, I don't know where it came from, but we always would ask like how people get along with other people. What do the Mexicans think of the Dominicans? What do the Dominicans think of the Haitians? What do the Haitians think of the Cubans? And everybody had like, it was like hockey rivalries. Oh, the Mexicans hate the Panamanians. The Panamanians hate the Mexicans. The Mexicans hate the Cubans. The Cubans hate the Haitians. The one thing though is, I don't know what the Dominicans did, but everybody in Central America hates the Dominicans. Which the Dominicans I met have been perfectly fine. So I think it's more of one of those just like cultural beef things, which is fine. Everybody hates the Haitians. The Haitians in Central America are like the Palestinians in the Middle East. Every other Middle East culture hates them. I don't know how. I don't explain it. It seems obvious, but I don't know. I'm not culturally informed enough to give you a good answer to this one. Yeah, in Mexico, anybody who likes tacos is a friend. Well, I mean, the Mexicans, at least the ones that I met, had a problem with the Colombians, but the Colombians hated the Dominicans. And I don't recall the Dominicans hate anybody. I think the Dominicans were just pretty chill. They just wanted to make sure you didn't mistake them for Haitians. So, whatever. No offense, I take a nap instead of watching a Rule 0. Dude, it's your time to spend it as you want. It's like I've said on this stuff. And yeah, I've spent 2 hours running my mouth about a book I'm writing so that you guys get interested enough to buy it. I asked you for a big ask, and you guys delivered. So I'm always appreciative. You guys are giving me 2 hours of your time. 2 hours of your time, and you're giving it to me for free. Because I asked nicely, and I'm like, the least I could do is not waste your fucking time. Tell you some good stories, mention some good anecdotes, teach you some things when I can. At the very least, be better than the slop that's out there now. I'm like, if I can't do that, what the fuck am I doing here? But yeah. How did you know I was Dominican? Yeah, I don't know. You've never mentioned it before. I cooked while watching this. Yeah, get stuff done. If I can be the soothing background voice while you're making a stir fry or a bean salad, fucking fill your boots. I'm perfectly happy to be that guy. So, oh, I forgot to ask. So what are they doing on Rule 0? You know what? Let's just make it a surprise. Let's go there. So I'm going to end this one. But let's end it with something funny. Let's do the sales stuff. Where's my books? Oh! Before we got to do this.
You can choose your misery with some, pretty girl that, whatever, that you just... And I honestly find it
If your man
interesting
is
for you to say
seeking,
smart.
it's probably because you're not satisfying
I would
your
encourage,
man.
right, so exactly. Do not discredit intelligence of others. Please do not use that word.
But marrying or committing to? No, absolutely not. My son will, marry an accountant. Not one of my sons would I allow to even date one of you girls. Because you don't shut up. It has been fun. It has been an honor. We're going
So-
hiking.
Yes.
All right. Orion, Belly is the movie for this week. Last week was Aliens. If you guys don't notice, every week it's Wednesday trailer, Sunday movie, podcast sometimes on the Saturdays, and then I re-release the edited ones because the live streams. So yeah, the newest one's going to be Belly. And I didn't realize how many people had no idea about DMX's and Hype Williams. It's how do I describe it? Forrest Gump for black people. Check it out. It's coming out Sunday.
Come on! Me shot pussy world people for fun! I murder people for fun. Come on! Medium bumper flat axe! Bumper flat me! Bumper flat Lennox!
Do you like real gangsters? Do you like Rough Riders? Do you like Jamaican Scarface? 90s Malcolm X or Forrest Gump? Well, I have the movie for you. Simple stories, told well, shown with panache. In a world where young black men think the American dream is a nightmare and the evils of the crack epidemic destroyed a nation, two men give a series of vignettes into the African-American experience. Life is like a box of chocolates. No. Life is like a blunt dog. Know what I'm saying? From the director that brought you just about every cool-ass gangsta music video from the 1990s comes a film where they took every trope that brothers grew up with and mashed it together into a 90-minute music video. It's got everything: violence, revenge, crime, redemption, sex, gratuitous nudity for no reason other than it's awesome.
What the f?
Drop! Boom!
And a vessel to propel DMX to stardom. Hype Williams took the torch from Spike Lee and actually made it worth a damn. This movie is all things, from growing in the projects to robbing nightclubs for the dollar, to being a drug kingpin, to a fugitive of the law, to the Brothers of Islam, to returning to the motherland. It's hype, from hype, and I'm hyped. It's Belly, 1998.
General, the boy Lennox beat down so you know. Who? Lennox. Yo, my boy named Lennox, if you get up, so you have to jump off and back. Tell Chiquita something.
Yeah, it's got some magic. Anyways, that's it. Catch you guys later. Yeah, it's a real title. That's what they called it. Belly. Okay, guys, have fun at Rule Zero. I don't think I'm going to be there this time. I'll try, but, you know, what happens, happens. Where's my start thing? There she is.
T 2458 Learning Corp Little Red Riding Hood, take one.
"40 years of my life is in the wire that's gone." Does that make sense?
Where they say there are Indian people pooping on our beach.
It's a spool of wire. 40 years of